If you're looking for some super fun, active and engaging games for your child to play to prepare them ready for phonics in reception or kindergarten, then this film is for you. For more than a decade, I've trained thousands of practitioners, teachers and parents in how to teach phonics and early reading spectacularly well. And on this channel I'm sharing heaps of phonics games, reading activity ideas and top tips with you. So subscribe to my channel to add a bit of sparkle into your phonics and early reading teaching, and don't forget to click the bell to be notified for new videos every single Thursday. And today I'm going to show you some of my favourite games. They're my favourites because they're super simple, they really work and children love playing them. So when children start phonics at the beginning of reception class or kindergarten, there's two skills really that they need to be able to be successful as they move forward. And the first one of those is to be able to hear all of the separate spoken sounds or the phonemes in a word. So if I was to say to you the word star, all they need to be able to hear is that the word star is made up of s, t, r, star, three sounds. So that's the first thing. The second thing that they need to be able to do is be able to distinguish between letter shapes. So they need to know that an N looks different from a V, looks different from an S. And if we think going back further, if they can't tell the difference between basic shapes like a star or a heart, then they're going to find that really difficult. The games that we're going to play today are two games that are going to be able to prepare the children just perfectly for that. So to be able to hear those separate sounds in words, but also to be able to distinguish between the letters that they see in written words everywhere around the house. This first game, all you're going to need are some objects, and it's going to be our listening game. It's going to be a game where we're going to be listening to all those separate sounds to hear all those separate phonemes in a word. So I've got a tin, and we would say t, I, n for the tin. And I've got a sock, s, o, sock, and I've got a peg, peg. So just things that you could find around the house. You will notice that they were just random items. You could, if you wanted to, think about words that all begin with the same phoneme, the same sound. So I could have a sock and a star and a spoon if I wanted to, but we don't have to. This is just about getting the children to listen to hear all those separate sounds, those separate phonemes in a word. And you might also have heard of CVC words, consonant, vowel, consonant words. So words which are short, three sound words. So these all fit into that category. I would start with shorter words if I were you, just because it helps the children to be able to pick it up. So I've got a peg, and I've got a sock, and I've got a tin. And the second job that I need to do before we play the game is to get my phone and take some photos of these objects. So I'm going to do that now. And I've got one of my pictures that I've just taken on my iPad, and I'm going to say to the children, have a look at the things on the table or have a look at the things on the floor. I hear with my little ear something that sounds like t, I, n. And they've got to look at the things that are out in front of them, guess what it is. So if they think it's the sock, do they think it's the tin, do they think it's the peg? From my clue, t, I, n. Okay, and then when they've all had a guess and they're pretty sure, I can say, were you right? And we can check on the iPad, there is the picture of the tin. So we can use our phone to check, or we can make it more complicated because we can have different items, we can have harder items, longer words, more sounds in the words. We can get the children to play being the teachers so they can be in charge of the game to make it more fun. They can go and find the items. So all manner of ways of being able to play it. It is super simple, but it's using things that are from around the house. It's using the technology, which adds a little bit of twist, and usually the children like that. Let's see what that would look like if I was playing in a classroom though, because if I'm playing in a small group or at home, this is really easy to achieve. But if I'm with a class of 30 children, what could that look like then? So to play exactly the same game I hear with my little ear with a whole class rather than a small group, we've just got exactly the same kinds of pictures that we've taken with a mobile or an iPad. So we've got a at pan, and a h at hat, and a b at g bag. And just to show you, they're all words that we've picked very carefully with the a or a phoneme, the at sound that is in the middle of all of those words. And you can see at the top, we've got that written down because it really helps the children to see on the left hand side a version which is written as if they would see it in a book, and on the right hand we've got like the handwritten version. So it's just to remind them, if they're at a stage where we've not introduced the letter sound correspondences, the grapheme phoneme correspondences yet, that is absolutely fine. You can still play this game with nursery age children, just saying the words and breaking them down into their spoken sounds. But if you're at the beginning of reception or kindergarten and want to start to be introducing these letter sound matches, then they're there to be able to help with that. So I've got pan, hat and bag, and we would segment those. We would break those words orally together first. So all together with the children, we'd practice saying p, at, n, pan, and all together we'd say h, at, hat, and all together we'd say b, ag, bag, and then the game can begin. So I hear with my little ear something which sounds like at, at. And if I was playing with a large group, I might encourage the children to talk to a partner, talk to the person sitting next to them. Can they work out what it might be? And then maybe take a bit of feedback from the children. At, what could it be? And literally all I'm going to do is click onto the next slide where I've deleted two of those objects, and there's the hat. And we can bring them all back again and have another go. I hear with my little ear something which sounds like at, at. Again, do exactly the same thing. Children talk to each other, try and work out what it is, take some feedback. What could it be? At, pan. You were right. So exactly the same game, just playing it on slides so that all children can see in a larger group. So I hope your children really love playing that game. It's super simple and really effective. Comment below and let me know how you got on. And also if you've got any other really good oral blending and segmenting or hearing and saying sound activities that really work for you, I'd love to hear from you. So this game is a bit of a take on the classic game I Spy, and it's about using real and everyday objects like we used before, but this time with an emphasis of looking at the letter shapes on the packaging. So you can play this game at home using things from the kitchen cupboards or out and about in the supermarket, and it's a game all about being able to spot the similarities and differences between letter shapes. And it's a really good game to play when children are starting to recognise the letters in their own name, their letters in their names of people that they know and love. And also we can start to play it once children are picking up a few letter sound correspondences. So just to show you how really simple this I Spy with my little eye or supermarket phoneme spotter game is, I'm just going to show you just with a few little packaging items that I've got from the shops, and we're going to be looking for the letter M. So let's just imagine that we're playing this with somebody. My niece is called Molly, so her name begins with M. She recognises her name begins with M. She's not really at a place where she is recognising the letter sound correspondences, but she knows that this is in her name. So she would be perfect to play this game with because she knows that this is an M, and we can reinforce while we're playing that this makes that sound. So I'm just going to say, I spy with my little eye something which looks like M. And then we're going to just look together and see how many M's we can find. It's really helpful to either have the magnetic letter, or you could write this down to give us a bit of a clue so that we can look, and we can look around all of the packaging and say things like, oh, that's one, that's one, that's one, there's one, there's one, there's another one. And the idea of this is just to make children aware that these letters or the shapes of letters that we see and we have to learn in school, actually they're not just about helping us to be able to read in books, they're helping us with our everyday life reading to be able to make sense of letters and sounds in the world around us, and that actually reading doesn't just have to happen in books. So this is beginning to build up that idea that this letter shape can be found almost anywhere in the world, and it's going to help us to be able to read. Couple of things to remember in this game. Number one, we're not looking for a letter particularly at the beginning of a word. In the old game of I Spy, it was I spy with my little eye, something beginning with. In this game, we're more looking for a particular letter shape anywhere within that word. So it could be anywhere. And also, if you don't want to go to the supermarket or get all your packets out of the cupboard, just take some photos and use those photos. That will work equally well. So to play the game with a large group rather than a small group, we're going to play exactly the same game, but we are going to be using photos of objects rather than real objects, because the real objects can be really awkward when you're working with a large group. And all these are our everyday objects, photos taken using a mobile phone or an iPad and pasted onto the slide so everybody can see. And I've picked really carefully the words that I'm going to use, because I've got Smarties here and I can say I spy with my little eye something which looks like S making a S sound, and I can see one at the beginning and I can see one at the end. So that's really handy to get the children thinking about whereabouts in the world those letter S's are. But also, if you look in the word Nestle, there's one hiding in there too. So it's a good idea to have very obvious ones and then somewhere the children have really got to hunt and really look more carefully, because that later on helps them to spot differences and similarities in letters such as B and D. So what I would do is get the children to look, maybe talk to a partner, talk to the person next to them, have a think, and then take some feedback, and then maybe do another example. So here I've got I spy with my little eye something which looks like S making the S sound. And again, we've got two in bus and stop. It might be that the children are at a developmental stage where you feel that you're confident to start talking about the different size of the letter S. So there's a lowercase s in bus and uppercase S in stop. And also, hidden away at the very bottom in that website address, there are some more S's for them to spot. So it's, again, really good opportunity to get the children looking. And last but not least, I spy with my little eye something which looks like S making the S sound. So you'll recognise that in all these examples, I'm using the letter name S and also the letter sound, because that is going to help children learn the letter names alongside the letter sounds as they move forward into their phonics learning. One more top tip to just remember: when you're picking your packaging, just be really careful. Try to look for lowercase letters in the packaging if you can, and also think about not picking words that have got over stylized fonts or too many capital letters, because that's just going to add another layer of confusion on the children to start with. So I really hope you and your children enjoy playing today's pre-phonic games and getting them warmed up for phonics in reception and in kindergarten classes. Linked below are the slides that I've used for whole class teaching today, and also there's a link to my website and my TES store to give you some more inspiration. If you've liked the game today, give them a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified for my phonics activities and inspiration every single Thursday. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.